Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hi, Panthers. Thank you all for joining us today for the revival of our PantHER series. You can't spell Panther without her. We are thrilled to welcome female trailblazers who bleed blue and gold and have established themselves as leaders, innovators, and role models, both personally and professionally. Before I introduce our panelists, I wanted to take a moment to recognize and honor the life of FIU trailblazer Catherine K. Houston Farringer. Kay was a renowned South Florida financial executive and community leader known for a life of professional accomplishments and community service. From 1976 to 1984, she served on the FIU Foundation Board and served as president for the last 2 years of her term, being the only woman in the Florida State University system to lead a foundation at that time. Kay is known for having a heart of gold and always finding an opportunity to serve. We continue to recognize all women who help shape their communities and industries, and we are so excited to welcome 3 women rock stars, superheroes, champions who continue to shatter every glass ceiling they face. We have Chanel Rowe. Chanel is founder and managing partner at Uriel Law. Ms. Rowe graduated as the valedictorian of her College of Law class at FIU. In 2021, she became the first Black woman appointed to the FIU Board of Trustees and the youngest trustee in the history of the State University system of Florida to be confirmed by the Florida Senate. She is also a founding member of the FIU Foundation Office of Inclusive Philanthropy's inaugural Women in Philanthropy Council. Wendy Barba graduated from FIU in 2002 with a BA in International Business and Management Information System, with a minor in French, then going on to receive an MBA in International Business. Wendy is a marketing and business strategist that is focused on helping businesses grow. She is passionate about strategic planning, digital marketing, and leadership practices to help businesses increase brand awareness and revenue. She has trained and motivated over 1,000 people, specializing in creating a collaborative culture, thriving for growth while having fun in the process. Her motto is building relationships that last. Susanna Klotz is a force to be reckoned with in the corporate world. Armed with her undergraduate degree from FIU, she then went on to complete her MBA. Her strategic mindset, sales acumen, leadership abilities, and analytical skills have made her indispensable. As a leader, Susanna has always been dedicated to developing and empowering her team. This also includes fearlessly raising 4 children. Her passion, faith, and empathy inspire her success and leadership abilities. Kicking off our PantHER series during Women's History Month allows us to highlight the empowering stories of our female alumni. We're excited and grateful to have you all here today to share your PantHER stories. And to our audience, please feel free to ask questions in the chat and we can answer some at the end of our conversation. Our conversation today is also being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube and Facebook page. So I'd like us to start, and I'll open up with the conversation with our main topic of excellence and showing up every day. The first question I'll open up to Wendy first, if you'd like to go first. As professionals, as trailblazers, there's an expectation to show up and demonstrate excellence every day. So tell me, what does that mean to you?
You know, I think excellence is to be the best version of yourself. You know, every now and then I think, how was I today for myself, for my family, for my business, for my team? And what did I do today that I could have done better? Did I live in the moment? And, you know, one of the things I have to say is that excellence is really not just to be your best for yourself, but also how you are in society. Unfortunately, I have to say that we are seeing things in social media that makes it or appears it to be easy. That's excellence and success is easy. And I think it requires a lot of patience, a lot of work. You know, excellence needs time to evolve. And I was thinking about this and just a little bit ago with my husband, is that we're so accustomed to have immediate gratification. And this is in every generation, because this device right here is giving you that immediate gratification. I was thinking about that the other day. I was in South Florida and my 2-year-old was screaming in the car, asking for a smoothie, and he wanted banana, chia, like all these things. And I'm like, so I Googled best smoothie near me. And we were stuck in traffic. So he was screaming. I'm like, oh my God, I need to like get this smoothie right away. And I order it while I was being stuck in traffic because I wasn't moving. And as soon as I got there, I had it. And I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, I just gave my son immediate gratification. He didn't realize that it takes effort to get this smoothie that he wants. And I'm like, this is a very simple example. And I think we have it at the tip of our fingertips that we think right away we get that gratification, and the excellence goes back to, having a vision, being laser focused, understanding to have patience with yourself, understanding that those goals are going to change or shift depending on what's going on in your current life. I just gave a simple example of a smoothie, but I think it comes down to also like leveraging our talents, working together, whether it's as a family, with your team and the community, and sharing that same vision and goal. And just know that things are going to shift, and that's okay. And be patient with yourself. Pat yourself in the back and be very patient with yourself. Enjoy the process as you evolve, because there's going to be challenges. There's going to be hard times. Fear is going to install. Uncertainty drives fear, and that's okay. And live in the moment. So that's how I see excellence.
Thank you so much. I want to open it up to Chanel.
Sure. I think Wendy said it very well. I also, in a sense, believe in showing up as your best self, but I would say it in terms of letting your light shine, and that's going to be unique to each individual. And I believe that life is a journey about personal development. In essence, sort of becoming, as you become the best version of yourself. It's a lifetime commitment, to yourself. And through that, as you're letting your own light shine, it also brings out the best in others. So I'm a servant, at heart. I believe being an attorney, we get a bad rap, but most of us do it to serve people, institutions, or whatever it is. And I'm thankful to have built service into and around my practice, and giving back to the community has given me so much. And so I believe part and parcel of demonstrating excellence, you almost automatically bring it out in other people. It's something you have to do intentionally. It's something that you have to work at. And I also think you have to be not only patient, which I agree with, but kind with yourself when you fall short. Or you didn't show up as your best, or you could have done better. I think as women in particular, we can be quite critical of ourselves. And so part of the excellence is the same kindness that we give to other people, we give back to ourselves, the same patience, and that's even something that will, I believe, color your life. I believe in sort of giving what it is that you need as well. And it always comes back to serve you. So.
Thank you so much. I'm definitely sensing a lot of similar messages of self-confidence, self-worth, and I love shining your light. I think that's such a powerful message to share. It's not just about wanting to keep things to yourself. You want to serve at the end of the day. Thank you so much. Susanna, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think I just want to reiterate on a couple of things. I think for me, and I think Wendy said it best also, it's you wake up every day with like a vision of what your day needs to be, and you want to live in that vision, but usually by like 10:30, you're like, things start hitting you and attacking you. And then that's usually where the vision can like start to die on you. And then all of a sudden you start becoming reactive versus trying to, what Chanel said, be your best self. And that's why I think it's so important that, at the end of the day, you take a minute, and I do this always, like I will go through my entire agenda of like, what did I do that I could have done better? And sometimes I have a pity party. I'm not gonna lie, like, let's be honest, ladies, we'll give ourselves the pity party, but like I slap myself out of it. I'm like, all right, you gave it to yourself for 5 minutes. How can you be better next time? And what safety measures can I do to make sure that I live in that consistently? I have sticky notes all over my desk that literally tell me like those types of little reminders, just to make sure that that vision of being in excellence is consistently reminded to me throughout the entire day. And so I love that. And I think laser focus is the biggest thing about it, because when you're laser focused on what it is that you want to accomplish, you can actually be intentional versus just letting the day happen to you. And it's so easy to let the day happen to you to veer you off of that. So for sure, I could definitely resonate with all of that.
It's interesting. I want to piggyback on that now, Susanna, and keep you engaged in the conversation for a moment. You
Yeah.
mentioned something that is very important, and I think it's that ability to shift, right? Our priorities may shift, our visions may shift every day, and every day we choose to show up and be excellent. So with that in mind, what does success look like for you? Is it something that shifts? Is that something with an end goal? What does that look like for Susanna?
I love that you said that, because I've had a lot of different careers in my life, and I'll never forget, there was a telltale moment in one of my previous jobs where I was literally put in a room with other people, and it wasn't a high moment for me, like, and I'm going to be completely vulnerable here and like transparent. They were coming at me saying, look, you need to do it like this, it needs to be done like this, and all of that. And they wanted to shift the way that I operated on a day-to-day basis. And I gave other people the power to tell me what me living in excellence was. They were telling me, if you want to be a better mom, this is how it should look like. If you want to be a better salesperson, this is what it should look like. And there was no grace in the thought of, this is where Susana is today in her life, and this is what it should look like. And I'll never forget, like, I literally got in my car, I like slammed the door shut, and I like went into full tear mode. And I was just like, I let the perceptions of other people dictate what my success needed to look like that day. And I remember I woke up the next day, and like I just sat in my bed for a minute, and I was like, and I'm telling you, I sat in my bed and I was like, never again will I let somebody put doubt in my mind about what success needs to look like in my life, because I am a mom, I am a wife, I am an amazing, leader in my job and everything. And I dictate what success looks like for me. And some days it means, getting home late. Other days it means, waking up at 7 a.m. to make my kids pancakes, with whipped cream and sprinkles on it. Other days it means putting on lipstick and going out on a date with my husband, because that is where the success lies for me in that specific day. And that's where I think like society will come at us. And you always see those little memes that are so easy to say, be an awesome mom, be fully focused while also having a perfect career and all of this. And I think that's where women, and I say this all the time, like, I like to imagine my life as a bento box. I know what each little section needs to look like. And by giving myself grace to understand that there is a certain level of bandwidth for each and every single one, and that's going to shift. So for me, I feel that success is you honoring who you are as a person and saying to yourself, like, this is what I will be proud of, to say I accomplished this today, no matter what section of my life. And being able to acknowledge the fact that you lived as your true self. And Chanel said that, being true to yourself. And I think that that's what gives us the power to be successful in every day of our lives.
Thank you so much. I love the idea of life as a bento box, right? Because every day you put a different protein in the main part of the bento box, and you put another little snack. I love that. And I think that speaks to how our priorities may shift every day. What needs my focus right now? What can wait till tomorrow? So thank you for sharing. I know you mentioned Chanel in her comment about being kind to yourself. I wanted to open it up to you, Chanel, and see if you had anything to add. Again, what does success look like for you?
Yeah, sure. For me, success is maximizing every potential and ability that God has given me, and that's for me, and I think that could apply for anyone. And so, it is, as Susanna said, blocking out the noise and really, making the time. For me, that means, I have a period of meditation and prayer every morning, and sometimes some reading. And that helps me to get my center for the day. And sometimes I have a list of things I made the night before, but in that moment, it sets me on another path. And I accept that. And I accept that as the true path for my day. Right. And so I think we all have something within us. You know, I'm a woman of faith and not pushing that on anyone else, but whatever it is, there is a sort of inner knowing of what matters, what's the best thing to do now. And I think the more we spend time quietly or sort of, you know, not always on our phones, we kind of start to get in sync with the rhythm of life. And it really does unfold and guide you, you know, along the way. Certainly there are bumps and bruises, but that's also part of the learning process. So for me, it's, you know, it's about getting back up and getting at it every day, but it's also about taking care of myself so that I can show up every day for myself and for others in my best way, my health, you know, my well-being, and also so that I live long enough so that I can enjoy the fruits of all my labor. So, and then obviously be there for the people who are depending on me. So, you know, you know, in addition to sort of going after it and constantly trying to show up as my best and become better and be thoughtful and self-aware about, you know, where my weaknesses are and where my strengths are and what my goals are and all those things in the various, you know, sort of boxes of our bento box life, if I will. You know, it's important to make sure that you're healthy, you're whole, you're centered, because, you know, you can't show up for anyone else or anything else if you're not.
I love that. I think that's great. And I think it just speaks to what everyone has been sharing about what excellence means, right? And when I'm hearing, and I think it's so powerful to share, is success is not associated with a dollar amount. It's not associated with a title, right? And I think it's so nice that you all can see where that balance is and how that balance shifts. I do want to open it up to Wendy to see if you have anything to add. I know that success looks different for everyone. So what does success look like for you?
You know, I think Susanna and Chanel put it very nicely. When I think of success, it really comes down to being comfortable in your own skin. And I remember many times, you know, mentors have said this to me at different occasions in my life. I'm like, I don't understand. I am comfortable with my own skin, but it's really like seeing yourself from the outside and loving yourself and who you are and accepting yourself. And you know, when I think of this, I'm thinking, I envision my best friend, and I love my best friend. And I'm trying to put it like so that everybody in the audience can see how I envision this success for me or for myself. So I love my best friend. She makes me laugh. She's very interesting. She has great conversations. She's a reader. She's, you know, she's empowering women. I love everything. But as much as I love all her virtues, I also love her flaws. And I laugh about it because there are my flaws too. I'm late. I'm loud. I'm Latina. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And sometimes that's like, oh my God, Wendy's too much. My best friend is so much, and I laugh about it. And I love who she is as a person and who she is with her flaws. And I think that's what we have to see ourselves is like loving who you are as a person, no matter in whatever situation you're in. And just being comfortable with your own skin and having your bento box. I love that. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. I think it's so important. Everyone's been sharing how it's a matter of accepting yourselves, accepting where you are and seeing where you can grow and where you can evolve, right? Going back to what you shared earlier, Wendy, about evolving every day, because excellence and success can shift every day. I did want to ask, I think we can all recognize that there are stereotypes associated with women in a general sense. Now, in relation to professionalism and excellence, do you have any experiences navigating these stereotypes? And I can start with Wendy.
You know, I just said it. I think myself as I'm being classified as many stereotypes. I think stereotypes are warriors and are obstacles. And, you know, one of the categories that I've been put on it, I'm a woman, I'm Latina, I'm Venezuelan, I'm a minority, I'm infertile, I'm an immigrant. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay. Because every time I hear stereotype is a opportunity to change that mindset. It's an opportunity to show them this is what I'm capable of doing. You know, I've always been in my career in a male-dominated industry, and I think that's eventually shifting. We're not going to be using that anymore because it's going to be a male and a female dominated industry. But I was, I was in the construction and this, and then I was with Coca-Cola. I was with the bottling, and it's a male dominated industry. So a lot of the times, remember, they are like, you have to have a tough skin, and I'm like, I don't understand what that means. Okay. And I think I was seeing like, oh, she's very sweet, she talks very nicely, but once they see me and how I am as a professional, then it's different, and I gained that respect. And at the beginning, I was okay knowing that I wasn't going to gain that respect, because it was like, I'm coming in and boom, I'm gonna like come out and you're gonna see what I'm capable of. And I love that. I'm okay with that stereotype. I'm okay with that. I think we need to empower ourselves every time we're put in those categories and know how we're breaking those barriers. And I've been very fortunate to having the right mentors and guidance, and also the help from FIU to help me navigate certain situations in my career. But yeah, I think a stereotype for me, it's an opportunity for growth. That's kind of like, and I'm okay with it. So again, it's being comfortable in your own skin. Yeah.
That's great. And I think it's such an important message. Another one, it's knowing where you are, knowing your surroundings and knowing what you're walking into, and then just being confident in that, knowing that, things may be looking different now, but they'll definitely be looking different in a few months. And when I show you what I can do, right? I think that's very powerful. Susanna, Chanel, do you have anything to add?
I would just say that I love being underestimated. I think it's the best thing ever. So the list goes on stereotypes that we could talk about here, but look, it's better to be underestimated and over deliver.
I think all three of us, and I know Alex, you and I know each other as well. We've all been faced with that, and it's something, stereotype, label, what have you. People automatically assume that has to be your entire self as well, And I know that for me, even with the story I just shared, I know people were like, you can either only be a mom or you can either only be a successful person, but you can't be both, right? And I think for me, you can't have a successful relationship. You can't have a successful partner, because then you're going to be the one who's also dragging out somewhere else, and being able, like, when you truly believe in yourself and you start like blocking out those voices. I love how Wendy said she embraces the stereotype, and Shana, how you said you will love to, prove to others, the difference and surprise them. When I came to my current company, it's crazy what it is to be in an environment where you first come in and you do feel like the minority. I work in tech. I'm surrounded by guys. I'm literally sending one of my best salespeople to a conference, and she goes to me, I'm one female out of a group of 18 men going. And I'm like, great, are you good? She's like, yeah, girl, I got this. And I'm like, 100% you got this. And the reason why I wanted to state that is because to me, it's, if we allow those things to limit our beliefs about how effective we can be, you're going to hold yourself back. And this is the first place where I've ever felt also that it's not, they don't care about the gender. They just want you to show up and be the best that you are. So I challenge always everybody, show up and work in a place or surround yourself with a family and people who say, you know what, I like you for who you are, and I'm going to be unapologetic for who you are, and don't let those things stop you. So I love that. So yeah.
That's great. And you bring up an interesting point that I wanted to dive deeper into. The whole expectation of women in particular to choose between family or career. We know that there are women everywhere facing these kinds of decisions, and it's a daily occurrence. How do you navigate that decision, and what advice do you have for other women that are going through that?
I can kick that off if you like.
Yeah.
I think anybody who meets me will know that my favorite role in my life is being a mom more than anything else. I love being a mom. It is my favorite thing. But I think that women are constantly faced with, and I hear it all the time, oh, there aren't enough women in leadership because they have to choose between being a mom or having a successful career, to your point. And I think it goes back to, you do have a choice, and you have to decide what your calling is, and you have to be okay with that. and you have to have open communication with your partner, and be like, hey, this is what I want. This is what it looks like. Can you have the best of both worlds? And the answer is, it depends on the stage of your life. It depends on what you want to focus on. I have plenty of girlfriends who are choosing right now to build their careers, and they're waiting for motherhood and parenthood for that reason, and to get married because that's what they want. And I think it's being okay with the decision. And I think that's the problem, where women are being told they have to choose either or, and we don't have to choose. I think that it's up to the woman to decide to be happy with the decision of where she's at right now in that moment. I wanted to have kids early. It was the best decision I could have ever made. And guess what? The past 3 years, now my kids are a little bit older, and now I'm busting tail and I'm growing in my career. And you know what? My kids see that and they're the better for it. But you know what? At one point in my life, I chose motherhood before career, but I still worked the entire time. But where I chose to live in like more of the excellence, like I talked about at the beginning, was more on the motherhood side. And it doesn't mean that I'm not choosing my family now. It just means that I'm okay with what my choices on a daily basis. And I think it goes back to what we said at the beginning of the call, which was, are you living intentional in the day? And are you reviewing your day at the end of the day to say, hey, what could I have done better? And being okay with that. And I think that's something that every single person on this call, man or woman, are you going to limit yourself to just one aspect of your life, or are you going to fulfill your calling? And I do believe that you're given talents, very much like Shana. I am a woman of faith, and I think that I've been given talents, and one of them is to lead. And guess what? I'm going to lead in wherever I can, and I'm going to support others. And that is where I feel like I fulfill my purpose as well. So I think that once you commit to your true self, you don't feel like you're choosing.
That's great. And I think it even goes back to what we've all shared. It's having patience with yourself, being kind to yourself, and having fun in the process, right? I think it goes back to what we've been saying, excellence, success, it all looks different. It can look different day to day, and it's embracing that. And to your point, Susanna, accepting that, right? We have to sit in whatever choice we've made and do the best we possibly can. So thank you for sharing. Wendy, Chanel, do you have anything to add about those decisions of the day-to-day balancing family, career, what that looks like for you?
Well, I think this question eventually is going to phase out, because I don't think women, again, to Susanna's point, we're going to have to end up choosing anymore. I think before that was kind of like the norm, because that's what our grandmothers, my mom was not on that. She had to choose both. Being with me, she was a single mom that raised me, and she had to choose her career, and she was super successful in Venezuela in her career. But I think we need to know that we can choose both, we can choose one or the other, and we need to know that it's okay to let go, whether you're choosing career versus being in family oriented. To Susanna's point, my journey has been different. In my 20s, I focused on my career. I mean, I was dived in my career. On my 30s, I focused on building a relationship and finding my husband. So I toned it down in my career. And then whenever we moved to Napa, I was focusing on opening up our business, our practice. So it was fully focused on career. And then I remember I'm very goal oriented, and I told my husband, July 2018, that's my deadline. Whatever happened in the office happened, but I'm moving on to being a family. So then it was like, this was my family. And I just recently shared one of the categories that I had was being infertile. I was diagnosed that I was not able to have a natural pregnancy. So I had to go through IVF. And I gave myself from 2018 all through 2019, I gave myself the permission to say, I'm stepping back from the business. If the business breaks down, if it burns, if it bankrupt, I'm sorry. This is now my time to be a mom. And I was okay with it. And now that I have my 2 IVF babies, now I remember, and I had this feeling whenever I was going to have before having Mateo was my first. And also I trust in God, and I put a lot of faith in God. But I remember this feeling. I said, my second baby, things are going to change. And right now, there are days that I dedicate more in the morning, making pancakes or being with the kids in the morning and coming to the office later and doing a full day, like nonstop laser focus. And then I get home at 4, or sometimes I get home at 6, because it all depends what your situation is that day. I may have a huge project that I have to complete, or I'm meeting with a client. I mean, there's so many things. Or you know what? I just want to spend time with my kids and I want to see them. So I think you can choose, and having that open conversation with your significant other, or your support system. In my mom's case, she was a single mom, and she had to have that, like, build her support system, which I think that's one of the things, like what I've seen is that whenever we are faced on that, like having to navigate family and career, I think us women were very judging our other women. And that's something that I would love to see more women build, that support and sisterhood. I've had times that I've been running around like crazy in the office, and the kids and my girlfriends are like, but why don't you just focus on being a mom? I'm like, no, because this is what makes me happy. Like, I know I'm going crazy. I put a lot of stress on myself. I probably sleep deprived, but this is my purpose. Like, this is what makes me happy. And I don't think I'm being unsuccessful in one area or the other. That day was crazy. Tomorrow will be different. And just, being there for each other as women, to cheerlead each other up and uplift each other, but really feel it from the core, not just because it looks good on paper, is what you're supposed to do, but really inspire one another. I think that's my calling. Like, that's what I'm hoping that we get to.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Chanel, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think Susanna and Wendy said it, gave some really great examples. Till the end of time, women will be juggling, responsibilities and the need to feel like the sacrificial lamb of the family. And, it's an ongoing conversation. And from the advice I would give that has guided me in balancing it all, one would be to be guided by your values, whatever your values and principles about life are. Let that guide your decisions on what to take on, what to not take on, how to show up for your family versus your work. And that may change based on the different seasons that you're in. And thankfully, we do live in an era now where there are many more opportunities and ways to work, especially with remote work. I think it's allowed a lot of people, and hybrid schedules have allowed a lot of particularly women to balance the pressures of it all in a more seamless way. But the importance of allowing your values to guide those decisions allows you to have peace at the end of the day with doing your best and whatever that is. And sometimes that doesn't mean getting every single thing done, but you're at peace because you operated in a way that was true to your values and your principles, and you can feel at peace for showing up for those who you care about, your loved ones. Secondly, I'd also say to make sure you have boundaries, because whether you're a caretaker or mom or supervisor or whatever you're running, whatever we're running, you need to also make sure you're filled up every day, right? And you need to know your limits also when you need to take a step back or you need a break or to recharge so that you can come and show up better and not sort of flame out or be burnt out. So, I had learned over the years to know, where my limits are, and to respectfully draw boundaries for those who need me and those who I show up for all the time, family-wise, because otherwise, if I'm not good, I can't be good to everyone else. So.
Can I add to that?
Yes, of course.
I think what she said is a key thing. It's the boundaries. And as women, I think we naturally want to be caretakers. Let's be honest, since the beginning of time, that's our job, that's our role. And guys, it's ingrained into our DNA. And I think the more that as women we try to fight that, the more we're also lying to our true selves. And it's not saying that being a caretaker is being a mom, etc. But that's why, like, even at work, you sometimes feel like you have to blur those boundaries and help everyone and do all of this. And in life in general, with family, etc., boundaries is one of the best things anybody who wants to find true success needs to learn to establish and hold firm on it. Because if you don't draw those boundaries, everyone's going to they're going to eat away from the ability for you to be your true self. So Chanel, that was beautiful what you shared. Love that you said that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wendy, did you have anything else to add?
Actually, there's a really good book that talks about how to manage those boundaries, and it's helped me. Actually, I started with the book when I was going through IVF, and now it's helping me too with having the boundaries at home and at work. It's called The Essentialist Mindset. It's an amazing book. You can do it as an audio book, but it's amazing. It really makes you think about your boundaries, about when you're saying no to say yes to something, you're saying no to something that you really want. So I would have to recommend if anybody is interested in learning how to be more of a essentialist.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. We can definitely put that in the chat later for any of our audience members to look into the book. Thank you. Chanel, you mentioned some pretty strong words for me, strength, boundaries, those pressures that we face every day. And I think that speaks to a level of conviction and truth that we own and walk into every day. And so that made me want to ask about barriers to female leadership, because I think we can all agree that there are significant barriers that we face, whether it's in a new job or in an existing profession that you're in, whether it's personal. What do you think is the most significant barrier that we face?
Yeah, sure. And I want to focus on the specifics ask of the significant barriers, because there are a lot of barriers externally, whether it's stereotypes, misperception, there's a whole host of them. For me, the most significant barriers are the ones we impose on ourselves. One would be overthinking. Two would be fear. And three would be just self-doubt, lack of confidence, or, lack of self-worth. And I feel like women, we tend to suffer from that more. I find that men are more bold, and maybe it's because how we've been socialized in our culture. But men seem, less afraid to take certain risks, to speak up, and maybe it's the culture. I'm in law. I've seen it in finance, I'm maybe some in tech. But I think, because it's their space, perhaps they take up more space. But I think as women, we, our deepest boundaries, our most significant boundaries, again, are really, they're all mental. They're all, what we tell ourselves on a daily basis, overthinking, overanalyzing, and talking ourselves out of opportunities that we are primed for, or maybe we're not exactly ready, but I've found that once you take the leap, even if you're not ready, you'll be ready. You'll have everything you need if you believe that is true, and you put in the work, of course, right? Nothing's a magic trick. I think Wendy said it earlier. We're in a culture where everyone wants it microwave fast. It takes time. It takes diligence, to really build. And even when you're in a new environment, yes, you do have an uphill battle, right? You've got to build that capital and show people that they can trust you to get the job done, and do whatever it is that you're asked to do. But again, it's important for us to, assess our self-talk and make sure that, we're not being our worst enemy at the end of the day.
I think that's great. And it goes back to even what you said earlier about it's great to be underestimated. And I think sometimes we underestimate ourselves, right? And at the same time as we can surprise our colleagues, we can surprise ourselves. And it's a matter of taking that leap and trusting that. And going back to all of these recurring themes, being okay with that, take the risk and sit in that. You took the risk, now just go all in and be okay with that and sit in your truth, right? That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Susanna, do you have anything to add?
I think one thing we need to ask ourselves is this an excuse or a reason? I think a lot of times we give ourselves excuses as to why we're not where we need to be. I've worked enough in my life, and I've spoken to enough business leaders and owners to know that they want the right person for the job. They want the person that's actually going to deliver the results. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, anybody who owns a business, runs a business, anything. So I believe that, yes, even me in tech, I come in here and I'm in a boys' world, and I'm okay with that. I really am, because you know what? I surprise myself more than anything than I think I surprise others. Because I think when people see my work and they see what I do, they're like, yeah, She's going to freaking rock it. She's got this. And then sometimes I'm like, did I just do that? Did we just accomplish that? And I surprised myself. And I think that and my husband's the one that's always telling me that. Literally my number one cheerleader, could not do anything without him. And he's like, I don't understand why you doubt yourself so much. And I think, Chanel, to your point, I think it's maybe like something ingrained in us as women. Maybe we're more cautious for that kind of stuff. But the more you practice at surprising yourself, I think the more you'll start realizing I'm just making excuses out of fear because I'm worried I'm going to fail. And I think that that's the biggest thing. Like, if you want the leadership role, if you want the new position, if you want the higher paying job, if you want the ability to do X, Y, and Z, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I making excuses, or am I going to find a way and make a way? And that to me is like one of the greatest things. And then you talk yourself out of it sometimes. And that's why, like you, Chanel, I like the mornings to like set up and like think of what I'm going to do today and then pray, meditate, and all of that. So I can talk myself through what I'm going to do and trust myself in the end, because at the end of the day, I can only really rely on myself. And to let somebody say that, oh, because you're a woman, you're going to experience this barrier or that. I'm like, listen, shut up. All right. I've got this. I've done it before. I'll do it again. And maybe it looks like a little win for you at the beginning, just to write that email that you wanted to write, send that message. Oh, I don't want to come across aggressive. You're not coming across aggressive. You're sharing your point of view. And I think that that's something that happens a lot. And we go back to the story I shared at the beginning. That was the big call out. They were like, oh, you're too aggressive. And I'm like, I'm not aggressive. I'm fighting. Yeah, Chanel's eyes got big. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm not aggressive. I'm fighting for what I believe in. I believe in this. I'm going to do this. We're going to make it happen. So either we can have an actual conversation about this, or you tell me another thing. So I think that as women, we need to give ourselves grace, but also start challenging ourselves too a little bit, and stop believing those little voices in our head that are telling us, no, you know what, this is better suited for him, or this is even better suited for her. You know, because I see that a lot from women. Sometimes they're like, oh yeah, you can do that because that's you. I'm like, shut up, so can you. Come on, let's do it. You know, I love that.
Go ahead, Wendy.
I think going back and piggybacking on Suzanne, I think a lot of going back to that, I think women, we first go judging each other. And I can share a story with you. When I left GE, I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't. I just wanted to something different. And I remember my parents were like, you're crazy. The economy's so bad. You're not going to get a job. And my mom was like, whatever job you get, just take it. Take the offer. Don't do anything. Just take it. Just sign it. And I was like, you know what? This is my project. So I went and got my resume reviewed by the way at Career Services. And I said to Career Services, this is what I have. This is what I want. And these are the 3 companies I'm aiming to apply: LVMH, Gucci, and Coke. Coke, I wanted because of marketing, because I hadn't seen marketing in that aspect. And like Coke. Coke is huge in marketing. And LVMH because it's LVMH. And I just wanted to be in a high-end brand. And Gucci because I also wanted to be in luxury. So, but I also, my other thing was I wanted to be focused in South Florida region. I was tired of traveling. I was 90% traveling, tired of being up in the air. So long story short, I ended up with the 3 companies that I aimed for interview. I had LVMH, Gucci, and Coke. I didn't take LVMH and Gucci because it was going on Latin America. And so I ended up going through with Coke through interview. And my mom was like, you're crazy. You should have just gone and see. I was like, no, let me see. And I remember I had a really strong interview, like it was really good. And then I called my coaches and my mentors and I said, I need you to teach me how you negotiate. And it's men. I need you to tell me exactly what you say, how you say it, when you pause, like train me. And I was on the phone with my mentors. I remember I was driving, I was on the phone and they're like, okay, I stopped the car, started taking notes. And I started rehearsing in front of the mirror. I'm like, okay, when they send me the offer, I'm gonna pause, I'm gonna listen. And I use the exact same words that they use. My mom is like, just take the job. Well, I'm telling you something. I negotiated my salary. I broke the barrier that women can be underpaid because I was the highest paid regional sales area manager for Coca-Cola in the Eastern region. Women, minority, and most of the men there had been like 20 years in Coke. The other barrier I broke was, they had a bet on me. My manager told me this. It's like, Wendy's not going to last. Miami is the hardest market. And I lasted. The bet was 8 months. I was there for 2 years and 2 months. And I broke that barrier. I'm like, I'm going to show you that I can tackle on the hardest market. So I think barriers for me, again, it's giving me the drive to show myself that I can do it. It's having, again, that grace and that sisterhood or support system. Know what that is, reach out to other women, to other men, and build that. I think we're always going to be breaking barriers, and even more in the female, as we become more in leadership positions. We'd have never thought that women can be CEOs. Now we have a bunch of companies with women CEOs. So for me, that's like having that empathy and support and valuing another woman. It inspires me that more women are going to get to that. More women are going to break those barriers. That's my story on that.
It's interesting. I think it's so empowering listening to each of your journeys and how you've approached these barriers, how you, Wendy, take a barrier, take a stereotype, and you use it as armor, right? That's what's going to fuel you in your industry. I would be interested to hear how you got there, because it's obvious to me, and I'm sure to our audience, that you're all very resilient, you're all very confident, you know your self-worth. Has that always been the case? Has there ever been a moment of wavering? And I think in an effort to be transparent and honest to our audience, because I'm sure there are women joining us today that have struggled. Am I making the right decision? Is this right for me? Have you ever wavered? What did that look like? And then what advice would you give to women going through that?
One of the things I have to say is, I think talking in reference to resilience and what has that looked like. I think we all go through journeys, and there's something that impacts us in our lives. I think everybody's life is not like, if rainbows. Maybe they are, but at least in my life, I've had a lot of challenges. And I have to say, my mom is the one that showed me resilience. We moved from Venezuela in 1989 when it was the Caracazo, was the coup. And just to give you an idea, my country was amazing. We had everything. My mom was a CPA. She had a chauffeur, cooking person. I'm telling you all this because you'll see where I'm leading. And from one day to the next, we were in war zone. There was a looting. There was people getting killed on the streets. I remember the day that the coup happened, my neighbor came and picked me up, and I was listening to the other neighbors, and they said, I don't think Wendy's mom made it. And to me, that felt like eternity. And I remember I was afraid that I would never see my mother. And when my mom came home that day, I said to her, we need to leave. I don't want to be here anymore. And as a 9-year-old, that's easy to say, I want to leave. I want to leave the situation because I'm scared. When we came to United States, it wasn't easy. My mom started from scratch. She didn't have papers. She had to find out how to get papers. She had to clean houses, babysit, the things that she would have never had to do in Venezuela. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional on this, but moving forward, my mom now has her CPA company. She's very successful. She raised me. She showed me what her purpose was. Her purpose, I think resilience is really understanding what your purpose is in life. And it could be a purpose in your day. Maybe today my purpose is to come here and show to you guys my story and listen to the journeys of Susanna and Chanel. That was my purpose today. Then what is your real purpose in life? My mom's purpose was to give me the best life. And even if it took her coming to a country that she didn't have anything, she had to start from scratch. So I think I saw that resilience since I was little. And every time there's a challenge, it really it's a chance for me to like take that in and say, how can I make myself stronger? How do I master this resilience and have God in you? And like, I remember my mom was like, God is with us, everything's gonna be fine, have faith. And every time I feel that way, even when I was going through IVF, I remember, I'm like, God, this is in your hands, it's God's timing, I'm surrendering to you, and I'm gonna push forward. And I'm going to keep laser focused. I'm going to keep on my purpose. I think that's one of the things, like I would say, bringing purpose to your life, and understanding what is that to be resilient.
That's such
Yeah.
a powerful story. I'm sure that surrounding yourself by powerful women like your mom, right? That's what empowers you. And I think that speaks to what we've been sharing today, is finding those cheerleaders, right? Finding those mentors that you have supporting you when you're feeling weaker, you're not at your best, or if you are at your best, they're rooting for you, right? And they're in your corner. I wanted to go ahead and pass that question on to Susanna and Chanel. Where have you ever experienced that moment of weakness or uncertainty, and how did you navigate that, and what advice would you give?
Yeah, sure. I would say I don't know if I know anyone who would say they never had imposter syndrome, particularly in leadership, where you're promoted, you're elevated to something, and you're kind of like, who, me? Like, like, even if for a moment, right? And so I think the goal is to have more of those in life, things that, you kind of step into and you lean into, and you grow into, because that generally means there's room for you to grow into that role if you're questioning yourself. My advice, and has something I followed, is to do it anyway, to do it scared, to do it nervous, to embrace those feelings, and feel those feelings. They're normal. But to not allow it to dictate your decision making, right? And so, again, it just goes back to being true to yourself, your purpose, being in alignment, and just having that knowing that this is the next best step, even if it doesn't look the clearest or the easiest. And that, if you're there for a reason. You earned it. It wasn't a handout. As long as you along the way, you put in the work, you built that capital, you just rest on your training, right? At that point, you rely on what you learned, and that belief that you have it in you, and that there's a greater power that's behind you. And you're here because this is exactly where you're supposed to be. And once you kind of sit in that, you just take one step after the other, right? I think Martin Luther King has a quote, and I'm not going to say it correctly, but in essence, it's, you don't have to see the staircase, to take the next step. And we don't always get the entire journey laid out, like in a Waze or, a maps type of scenario. Sometimes we just have glimpses of the vision and glimpses of the place where we want to be. But the journey there, looks nothing like, a perfect picture. And I think once we actually settle into knowing that it'll never be perfect, you just kind of embrace the ride, and embrace who you become in the process. Because a lot of times, by the time you meet that goal or whatever it is that you're going after, you're already thinking about the next goal. It's just a moment in time that you celebrate if you do, and you're on to the next. So it's really not about the destination. It's really about who you become in the process, right? And it goes back to becoming your best self, becoming who you were, designed to be, and giving the world, your community, your family, what it is that you were sent here to give them.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Susanna, do you have anything to add?
Honestly, I think Wendy and Chanel did a fantastic job describing that. I think for me, I don't think, besides the story that I shared at the beginning, I think it's just perseverance for me has been the biggest thing. I've been one of those people that I kind of just run towards a problem versus let me analyze. I'm the person that jumps off the cliff and starts building the airplane on the way down and kind of hope that if anything, at least I'll land on something soft. And the reason why I feel like I operate that way is because I have enough trust in myself that whatever the result is, I can either feel confident that the result is the best that I could have done, or to what we said at the beginning, analyze it and say, okay, what steps can I make from here to be better about it?
That's great. And I think it just keeps going back to those themes of knowing what your worth is, right? Don't second guess yourself, sit in the decisions you make and just go with it. And if you need to pivot, you pivot, right? And we evolve, we grow, we learn, and we become better people in the process, better people, better professionals. And I think that's what we're here today about, right? We want to learn how to become better versions of ourselves. So thank you all for sharing that. I think before we close out, we have a few minutes left. There's one question I wanted to ask you all. We know you're ambitious. We see you growing. We see you making huge strides in your industries. So what's next for you? Is there anything on the horizon? You have cheerleaders at FIU, obviously, and with our audience today. So what can we look out for? We're all very excited to support you. Susanna, Wendy?
Go ahead, Wendy.
I think I have 2 words for this year. Every year I pick a word, but this year I picked 2 because I couldn't decide. My 2 words were blissful and change. And the reason I picked those 2 words, blissful, is because, man, my pregnancies were hard. And I wanted this year to be happy in everything I did. Whether my body didn't look the same or I wasn't back to my business, I just wanted to be happy. And change, because I knew there was a lot of change that was going to be happening. Like I felt that even before I had Mateo. And now with Francesca, they're my drivers, I want to show them what mom can do as a mom, and as in my company, and as a family, and overall. So I know for sure, just again, because I'm so goal oriented, I know there's going to be a lot of great things happening. What I can say though is, one of the things that I'm very committed is that I want to give back to my community. And I thank you, Alex, and the FIU alumni and Sarah for giving me this opportunity to share that journey, because I'm hoping our stories empowers other women and other men. I'm very committed to partner with business minded that are looking and willing to break barriers, to shift that, and continue to grow my network, continue to inspire others. I love when I see people being empowered and empowering businesses. And I would say, driving that same mindset and maximizing that impact for shared prosperity. I think that's my biggest thing. That I would say what's next for me.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
planting the seeds.
For sure. Susanna, Chanel, a few words. What's next? What can we look out for?
I think for me, this year, I'm very much focused on, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but also very much what we've also been exclaiming is, I'm living for me. I'm living for me. I'm choosing what brings me the most joy and being satisfied in that. And because of that, actually, funny enough, I shared it with Alex. I said for a couple of weeks before Alex had called me, I said, I need to find a way that I can start giving back and empowering. So I think I'm actually going to be finally taking the plunge. So you guys can follow me on LinkedIn and see that. I'm going to be starting my first podcast. It's going to be called Whiskey Wednesdays with Susanna. So I'm excited about that. So hopefully I'll be getting that set up. And I'm just excited to be able to share a little bit about my story. And if some people have fun along the way or learn along the way, then even better for that. So that's what you can kind of expect from me.
That's so exciting. Thank you so much for sharing that. Great. And Chanel, anything that we can look out for? Anything exciting coming up?
Yeah, sure. Well, I look forward to continuing to serve this wonderful university and our wonderful community, making FIU a better place for professional staff, our students, and our alum. It's been a special place to me, and it's a special place to many. So I take my service on the board very seriously, and I look forward to the rest of my term on the Board of Trustees, and just I also professionally just, again, want to get deeper into my craft, want to continue to scale my skill sets and serve in the best of my abilities. I don't think I'm quite finished yet. I think I'm still very much in stride in my career. I've done a lot of things, but there's a lot more that I want to do. And I believe, just like Wendy and Susanna said, we can have, the life and that and can include whatever it is that you want. For example, I'd like to golf some more. So that's one thing that I'm, I don't know, you might catch me on I'm not going to go there, but I hope to golf somewhere. I don't know if I'll be at any tours anytime soon, but no, I want to continue to just kind of pour into myself. It's funny, Wendy, it's in the beginning of 2023, my slogan was 2023 was about me. And really what that was about was keeping commitments to myself. And I think that, the more we keep our commitments to ourselves, the more confident we can show up, the more ground we gain to take on more and to do more, and to be more. So look forward to seeing all of you women at the top.
That's fantastic. I look forward to seeing all of you succeed in your own industries, personal, professional. We are very excited to support you and continuing to see you thrive in whatever you do. With that, I know our time is up, but I just want to say, wow, what an invigorating, empowering conversation with each of you. I know I can speak on behalf of all alumni, not just female, when I say thank you. Thank you for your honesty, your leadership, and dedication, not just to your respective crafts, but to your alma mater. So as we close, I'd like to invite you all to engage in our upcoming PantHER Series events. This will continue, and so you'll see us all again. And as we continue to highlight inspirational leaders as we've done today, if you've missed anything, please make sure to follow us. Our handle is FIU Alumni, and you can check out our YouTube and Facebook page to watch this session. So on behalf of FIU Alumni, thank you again for tuning in, and pause up.
Pause up.